Okay, those were most of the good things I liked about the movie. Now let me talk about all the bad things I thought about the movie, and why exactly I was disappointed with it besides having super high expectations. 1. I praised the movie for being very well and smartly written, but I think it might have been too smartly written, at least to be seen just one time. There's a lot going on, and if you're not giving your complete attention for every single second of the movie, there's a good chance you'll miss something significant, which will leave you confused later on. There are a whole bunch of different characters who have all sorts of different motives and agendas, and they all have different dynamics with each other. Obviously, you've got Bruce Wayne, who's a recluse in the beginning of the movie, still emotionally and psychologically damaged from what happened to Rachel and Harvey Dent in the second movie, retired from fighting crime as Batman, and whose Wayne Enterprises isn't doing so well after Bruce invested in a clean energy project, but shut it down after learning the device could be turned into an atom bomb. These latest events didn't even take place on screen, but somewhere in between the second and third movie, which is just referenced in a conversation between Wayne and Lucius Fox. You've got John Daggett, Bruce Wayne's business rival, who hires Bane to sabotage Wayne Enterprises so that he can take over the company. You've got Bane, who's a hired mercenary by John Daggett, who successfully bankrupts Wayne Enterprises, but is really acting as the newly self-appointed leader of the League of Shadows, previously led by Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson in the first movie, to destroy Gotham City. And you have his whole history of how he was born in this horrible prison and the story of how his mother got there in the first place, but later on you discover that it wasn't really his story, but the story of Talia al Ghul, who at first you think is a Wayne Enterprises board member named Miranda Tate. Most of the movie, you think she has the best interest for Bruce Wayne and Wayne Enterprises and wants to bring clean energy to Gotham City, but really, she's Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and she's planning to carry on her father's legacy to destroy Gotham City and at the same time exact revenge on Batman for the death of her father. Then there's Catwoman, who was also hired by Daggett to retrieve Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, but all she really cares about is some sort of technological device called the Clean Slate, which will allow her to erase her history and all previous criminal records and be able to start a fresh new life. And then there's still Commissioner Gordon, Officer John Blake, Lucius Fox, and of course Alfred, all who help or at least try to help Batman in their own ways. That's a lot of information to take in just one movie. I have to admit, I didn't catch every single thing the first time around, so there were a few things here and there I was confused about. Again, this is something that's just remedied the more you watch the movie, but nevertheless, it is one of the reasons I was disappointed after seeing it the first time around. 2. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't like the fact that Batman was really weak for most of the movie. I could have gone with it for the first quarter or maybe even half of it, but I thought he was weak for 3/4 of the movie, if not more, and wasn't really strong in his usual kick-ass self until the very end. The only thing he did successfully in the first 3/4 of the movie was escape from an ass load of Gotham City police, and that's pretty much because he had a flying aircraft and nobody else did. Besides that, he fails stopping Bane and his thugs from bankrupting his company, gets his ass kicked by Bane, gets sent to a foreign inescapable prison, and watches helplessly as Gotham City is taken over by Bane. I understand Batman being weak makes for a better story and it makes it compelling trying to figure out how he's going to overcome the odds, but in the end, I don't think he had enough redeeming kick-ass moments where you cheer for him and really get excited about how much he pwns. You don't see enough of those great cool qualities about Batman in this movie that make you love him and are the reasons you think he's so awesome in the first place. I know at the end he saves the day by seemingly sacrificing himself by flying the atom bomb away from Gotham City, but that's not the type of cool, iconic Batman moment I'm talking about. For me, the first time he had one of these moments, he wasn't even dressed as Batman. When he was finally able to escape the underground prison was the first time I really felt like he had one of his cool victorious moments. I really feel like there weren't any iconic Batman moments where he gets the upper hand in his own style. He never outwitted the enemy, and besides his Bat Helicopter and Bat Pod, he never used one of his super cool gadgets to get something he wanted, and he barely used his stealth. And when he did, he was just standing there doing nothing, while Bane made a whole speech before he grabbed Batman's neck. Bane kicked Batman's ass halfway through the movie. Batman should have had a redeeming moment where he kicked Bane's ass. Bane totally owns Batman in this movie. He bankrupts him, cripples him, sends him to some ridiculous foreign prison, and brings complete chaos on Gotham City. For the amount of time Bane is in complete control in the movie and Batman is weak, I feel like Batman never gets the upper hand and redeems himself. He never got the best of Bane in this movie. Which brings me to another point. I hate the way Bane dies. In case you don't remember, after Talia al Ghul stabs Batman, reveals her real identity to him, and leaves him there, Bane gets up to finish him off. You're sitting there wondering, oh man, how's Batman gonna get himself out of this one? Waiting in anticipation for some awesome clever move, when all of a sudden, Catwoman just appears out of nowhere and kills Bane by blasting him with a cannon from a bat pod. Really? That's how he dies? I'm sorry, but that's a Deus Ex Machina type of ending for Bane, which made his demise completely unsatisfying. Which brings me to another thing that disappointed me. As a huge fan of action movies, I was really disappointed with most of the action and fight sequences in this film, the hand-to-hand fighting in particular. Overall, I just thought it was pretty weak. This was also partially due to the editing and partially due to the way the action scenes were filmed. I just couldn't enjoy it because I couldn't really see what the hell was happening most of the time, and this was actually one of my complaints for the first movie, Batman Begins, as well. I understand that's Batman's style of fighting, using stealth and his ability to blend with the shadows, but that doesn't mean you have to film it in a way where you can't actually see what the hell is going on. I also thought a lot of the choreography just seemed poorly performed to me, like this spinning punch for example. I notice it every time I watch it. Bane's punch just seems too low and too far from Batman's face to make contact, and for a pretty sweet move, I just don't think it's filmed the right way. By the way, I used a similar move with one of my characters in my own original short film, The Bottle Cap Battle, which you can find on my YouTube channel. Now, I'm just nitpicking though, and these aren't actual criticisms that have to do with the actual plot or storyline of the movie, but they still affected my enjoyment of the movie and caused distractions for me. Usually I hate when people nitpick with movies and complain about things that are insignificant to the plot. I just think they should relax, remember it's a movie, and just go with it. For example, in movies, when a car crashes and tumbles over 7 times in a row, and the people inside just crawl out with barely a scratch, even though it's completely unrealistic, this is the type of thing I can get over by just saying, whatever, it's a movie, get over it. But I feel like there were way too many moments like that for me during The Dark Knight Rises. By the way, something similar to the whole car thing kinda did happen in the movie. It's at the end of the movie when Batman's flying the Bat helicopter, chasing Talia al Ghul in the truck that's carrying the bomb in the back along with Commissioner Gordon. The truck crashes through a barrier and flies down to a lower level area, which kills Talia al Ghul in the front of the truck, but somehow Commissioner Gordon survives without a scratch in the back of the truck, without a seatbelt or even a seat next to a freaking atom bomb. That actually did not bother me. That was one of those things I looked past because it's just a movie thing. But there are things I couldn't get over, and here they are in chronological order. 1. When Bane kidnaps the Russian nuclear physicist Dr. Pavel from the airplane in the beginning of the movie, he transfuses some of his blood to a decoy dead body to make people think Pavel died in the plane crash. Really? They transfused blood for like 3 seconds and that's enough to identify the dead body as Dr. Pavel? I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but wouldn't 99% of the dead guy's blood like dilute 1% of Dr. Pavel's blood inside the body? That small percentage of Dr. Pavel's blood in his body would be enough to identify him as Dr. Pavel instead of who he really was? And the guy didn't even look like him at all. Wouldn't the people who discovered the body and investigated the crash be able to tell that that person wasn't Dr. Pavel? 2. How did Catwoman just kidnap a congressman for however long he was missing? Did they ever show her actually have him in her possession before she went to go make the deal with Daggett Sky? And what the hell was up with the congressman? Was he drunk? Was he drugged? He seemed completely out of it and didn't care that he was in some shady bar with a bunch of shady looking people and a news report on television about him and how he was missing. That was just weird to me. I don't know, that was just weird to me. 3. What did this do? What the hell is this thing and what did it do? During Batman's motorcycle chase of Bane's thugs after the stock exchange, he uses this gadget and shoots it at one of the thugs, but they didn't really show what it did. A few seconds later, you just see the thug he shot it at being detained by police. Usually when Batman uses cool new gadgets, is previously introduced in an earlier scene by Lucius Fox. This is much like the James Bond movies and how Q always introduces Bond to cool new gadgets. This is done so you're aware of the gadget, you know what it does, and you get all excited about it when Batman actually uses it later on in the film. However, this thing was never introduced by Lucius Fox. Batman only uses it once throughout the entire film, and we didn't even see what it did. 4. The inaccuracy of the size of Bane. I'm not blaming Tom Hardy for this, because he did look completely jacked in this film, and I know Christopher Nolan tried to use as little CG in this film as possible, but Bane in the movie was nowhere close to how enormously monstrous Bane's character really is in the original comic books, and how gigantic he's intended to be. Tom Hardy is 5'10". I'm taller than he is. Bane is supposed to be 6'8", and quite frankly, even though Tom Hardy was jacked, I wasn't convinced his character actually was physically superior to Batman and actually had overpowering monstrous strength based on his size. 5. How did Bane know Batman's secret identity? During their first fight right before Bane kicks his ass, Bane refers to Batman as Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Wayne.
Now, we can assume it has something to do with them both previously being members of the League of Shadows, but it's never really explained or mentioned in the movie how Bane actually knows who Batman is. Why didn't Bane ever use this information to his advantage? He'll break Batman's back and send him to an inescapable prison, but he'll keep his secret identity a secret to the world? 6. The part where Bane breaks Batman's back. Ever since I discovered Bane was the main antagonist for this film, I wondered, is Bane really going to break Batman's back in the movie? I remember when the comic book came out. It was a huge thing in the comic book world. And during the movie, I had no idea it actually happened until Bruce Wayne was in prison and the guy that fixed his back mentioned that his back was broken. I mean, I recognized the move where Bane lifted Batman above his head and slammed him down against his knee, but compared to the way it was depicted in the comics, this didn't seem like anything significant at all. I didn't get that that move crippled Batman. It wasn't filmed anywhere close to as dramatic as it should have been. This should have been a huge part of the movie. There should have been dramatic music playing, they should have exaggerated or accented the sound effect of the breaking back. They should have used some sort of effect to highlight that moment where Bane actually cripples Batman and evoked emotion from it. It even seemed like Bane had a hard time holding Batman up above his head, like he just dropped him quickly because he was too heavy for him to carry or something. 7. Officer Blake's story of how he figured out Batman's secret identity. Blake basically told Wayne that he knew he was Batman because he could tell that he wasn't actually happy when he smiled. Really? You knew he was really angry inside when he smiled and that's how you figured out he was Batman? 8. Every single Gotham cop going into the sewers after discovering Bane's ultimate plan. Really? They thought that was the smart thing to do, sending every single cop into the city at one place at the same time? This is something that had to be done in order to eliminate them from the equation, though, and have the fate of Gotham City rest solely on Batman's rescue along with his allies, so it didn't really bother me that much. But it was obvious, I could see the trap coming a mile away. But 9. Why didn't they investigate and infiltrate the sewers in the first place after Gordon was kidnapped, shot down there, and personally saw Bane and his entire operation based down there? He is the police commissioner of Gotham City. He was kidnapped, brought down there, and he was shot there. He personally saw Bane and his entire operation based down there. And no one believed him? No one thought it was important enough to do anything about it? 10. After Bruce Wayne had his back broken by Bane, he eventually recovered with the help of some random dude he met in prison. After that, he somehow got stronger and back into great physical shape by doing a bunch of sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups in his prison cell. But this doesn't explain how he was so easily able to kick Bane's ass in their second fight together towards the end of the movie. Bane should still be physically dominant than Batman, and I know Batman was breaking Bane's mask with several punches to the face, which caused a lot of pain for Bane, but didn't Batman punch Bane in the face during their first encounter? Yes. Yes, he did. In fact, I remember very clearly Batman punching Bane several times across the face in their first fight, and Bane was just standing there taking it. Why didn't Bane's mask break then? And that's about it for all those little unexplained things that bothered me throughout the movie. Those mostly insignificant blemishes, coupled with how weak Batman was throughout the movie, how little he did to redeem himself, and the complicated interactions between all the different characters and their personal agendas is more or less why I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. This could be one of those movies I enjoy the more I watch it, but the thing that really doesn't let me enjoy and revel in it too much is Batman being weak for the majority of the movie and being unable to vicariously live through his heroic triumphs. The Dark Knight Rises being the last movie of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is bittersweet. Overall, I do think Nolan and the cast of the trilogy did a great job. In fact, I believe these are hands down the best Batman movies ever made, and as I said before, these are some of the best comic book superhero movies of all time. And even though the movie ended well and brought closure to the trilogy, I don't want Nolan and the rest of the cast to stop making these movies. I don't want the whole Batman series to be rebooted by a completely different cast several years down the road. Because honestly, based on what he did with the Joker and all of his diabolical schemes in the second movie, I think Nolan could write and film an incredibly genius script with the Riddler as the main villain. After everything Gotham City and Batman's been through though, I don't see how Nolan would up the ante and outdo himself for a third time. Plus, the way he ended the movie gave a pretty solid closing to the trilogy. Now, I know a lot of you probably disagree with a lot of things I said. I welcome friendly, intelligent conversations expressing your own viewpoints and opinions. So feel free to speak your mind, let me know what you thought about the movie, let me know what you thought about my opinions, and leave comments in the comment section, and as always, I'll do my best to reply to you. Alright, that's about it. This video actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, or you were at least entertained, or the video did something for you. As always, I appreciate your support, and until next time,
peace out.